What if the perfect family vacation wasn't a getaway, but a setup? What if the $5,000 trip, the smiling photos, the public toasts, and the polished promises were all part of a deeper game of control? Welcome to a place where polite smiles hide betrayal, where loyalty is tested behind closed doors, and where husbands with secrets believe they'll never be exposed. In these unforgettable relationship stories, entitlement collides with strategy, pride fuels deception, and quiet endurance transforms into calculated payback. Every episode uncovers manipulation buried beneath family traditions, shocking financial secrets masked as business, and emotional betrayals disguised as love. Here, revenge isn't loud, it's precise, it's patient, and it always arrives at the perfect moment. If you're drawn to twisted family drama, hidden affairs, secret accounts, and ultimate justice that no one sees coming, you're exactly where you need to be. The $5,000 trip to Cabo was presented as a peace offering. After months of distance, late nights at the office, and conversations that felt more like negotiations than marriage, it sounded like hope. Sun, ocean, and family time. That's how it was sold. But generosity has a tone, and this one felt rehearsed. Flights were booked quickly, a luxury resort, non-refundable. His excitement didn't feel like connection, it felt like control. Every detail was handled without discussion. "Trust me," he said, flashing that polished smile that once felt reassuring. The truth started leaking out 2 nights before departure. A message lit up his phone while he was in the shower. Just a preview across the screen. "Can't wait for Cabo. Same room as last time?" No name saved, just a number. The air shifted. The silence in that bathroom grew heavy. Phone records told the rest. Months of calls at odd hours, charges to the joint account labeled as client entertainment, jewelry purchases that never made it home, hotel stays during so-called conferences. The trip wasn't a reset, it was camouflage. At dinner the first night in Cabo, the performance began. Too much charm, too many compliments, his hand resting on the small of another woman's back a second too long near the bar, a whisper exchanged when he thought no one was looking. Entitlement is loud, even when it smiles. "You'll watch the kids tomorrow," he said casually, sipping a drink paid for with shared money. Important meeting. On vacation. That's when the pattern snapped into place. The $5,000 getaway wasn't a gift, it was a setup. Free childcare in paradise while he revisited something already in motion. Anger didn't explode, it crystallized. The next morning, a quiet visit to the concierge desk shifted everything. Separate billing requested, copies of receipts printed, a discreet conversation with hotel management about registered guests and room access. Policies work in favor of whoever asks the right questions. By afternoon, charges began moving. Shared credit cards were frozen. The bank flagged unusual activity with helpful documentation already submitted. A call to an attorney back home sealed the rest. That evening, when he attempted to charge champagne to the suite for his meeting, the card declined. So did room access. The look on his face wasn't confusion, it was exposure. The $5,000 trip, meant to display control, became the receipt for his betrayal and the beginning of his exit. Family vacations were always staged like holiday cards. Coordinated outfits, forced laughter, arms wrapped tightly around shoulders that no longer felt safe. From the outside, everything looked solid. A successful husband, beautiful children, beachfront sunsets posted in real time. But polite smiles can hide 1,000 fractures. The first crack appeared in the form of a forgotten email left open on his laptop in the rental house living room. A shared calendar notification popped up. "Dinner with L. Don't cancel like last time." The date wasn't from months ago. It was from next week, during another supposed conference. Loyalty started feeling one-sided after that. Late-night phone calls moved from the porch to the driveway. Passwords changed, conversations stopped mid-sentence when footsteps approached. When asked directly, the answers came smooth and practiced. Work stress. You're overthinking. We're fine. Fine is a dangerous word. On the third night of that trip, after everyone else went to bed, curiosity overpowered denial. His tablet, the one synced to everything, was still connected to the house Wi-Fi. Messages don't disappear just because someone deletes them from a phone. What surfaced wasn't just an affair, it was a double life. Photos, hotel confirmations, promises about starting fresh, complaints about feeling trapped, and one message that stole the air from the room. Once the accounts are separated, it'll be easier, just a little longer. Accounts separated? The joint savings built over a decade suddenly made sense. The subtle transfers, the small amounts moved quietly enough to avoid notice. A future was being funded behind a polite smile. But betrayal runs deeper when family gets pulled into it. His sister knew. Messages between them confirmed it. Advice exchanged, alibis coordinated. "She'll never find out," she wrote once. That line burned. The next morning at breakfast, pancakes were flipped like nothing was wrong. His hand rested casually at the small of a back it no longer deserved to touch. The children laughed, the ocean sparkled, and the secret sat at the table with everyone. Revenge didn't come in shouting. It came in preparation. Screenshots were saved, bank statements downloaded, a private meeting with a financial advisor scheduled for the week after returning home, an attorney consultation quietly arranged. The final night of vacation, when a toast was raised to family, copies of printed messages slid across the table instead of dessert menus. The silence that followed wasn't fragile. It was final. Because nothing shatters louder than a husband's secret exposed in front of the very family who helped him hide it. Trust wasn't shattered in one dramatic moment. It eroded slowly, like waves grinding down a shoreline. Small lies, half answers, locked screens turned face down on the table. Each boundary crossed came wrapped in charm, as if disrespect could be softened by a smile. Endurance became survival. For months, suspicions were swallowed. Late meetings ran past midnight. Weekend golf trips multiplied. Credit card statements carried unfamiliar restaurant names in cities never mentioned before. Every question was met with irritation. Why are you always looking for something wrong? Because something was wrong. The real betrayal surfaced on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. A call came from the bank confirming a loan application, one never discussed. The amount wasn't small. Collateral listed? The house, the family home, a future risked without a conversation. Confrontation didn't bring remorse. It brought arrogance. "You wouldn't understand how business works," he said, shrugging like signatures forged trust automatically. But the loan wasn't for business. Documents accessed through the shared financial portal told a different story. Funds transferred into a new account, an apartment lease signed downtown, utilities activated weeks earlier, a second life already furnished. Quiet endurance hardened into clarity. Underestimation is a dangerous mistake. While he believed silence meant weakness, preparations began. A separate account was opened, direct deposits rerouted. A consultation with a forensic accountant revealed more than expected. Hidden investments, cash withdrawals timed carefully under reporting limits, expensive gifts purchased from accounts meant for college savings. Every receipt became evidence. The final move wasn't loud. It was precise. A meeting was scheduled with his business partners under the guise of discussing the loan. Financial documents were presented, the personal withdrawals, the undisclosed liabilities tied to company credit lines, the apartment lease overlapping with corporate expense claims. The color drained from his face as questions filled the room. Power shifted in seconds. Later that evening, when he returned home ready to argue, the locks had already been legally changed. Temporary orders filed that morning ensured it. A printed copy of the loan agreement and apartment lease sat neatly on the kitchen counter beside a single line written in steady ink. No more boundaries will be crossed. Because the most dangerous mistake a husband can make is believing quiet endurance means permanent submission. The smirk didn't look dangerous at first. It looked confident, almost amused, like someone holding a secret so delicious it was impossible not to taste it twice. That smirk showed up the night of the company gala. He stood across the ballroom in a tailored suit, arm draped too comfortably around a junior associate introduced months ago as just part of the team. Cameras flashed, laughter flowed, and every time eyes met from across the room, that smirk returned, subtle, daring, proud. Pride is loud when guilt thinks it's untouchable. Whispers had started weeks earlier, late strategy meetings that never appeared on official calendars, sudden gym memberships, a new cologne that didn't come home in a shopping bag. When confronted, the response was always polished. Insecurity isn't attractive. But insecurity wasn't the problem. The problem was the email mistakenly synced to the shared tablet, a thread labeled under his assistant's name, but the language wasn't corporate. It was intimate. Plans discussed about timing, about after the promotion, about waiting until certain assets were restructured. Assets. Joint investments had quietly shifted over the past 6 months, properties refinanced, beneficiaries updated, insurance policies altered under the guise of financial planning. Every move legal, every move deliberate. And that smirk kept appearing across dinner tables, in photographs, during conversations about the future. So preparation began in silence. Copies of every financial document were secured. A private meeting with a top-tier attorney replaced a lunch date on the calendar. A forensic audit traced transfers that painted a clear picture. Funds diverted into a shell LLC registered under a name connected to that junior associate's home address. The gala became the stage. When he took the podium to thank his supportive spouse for standing beside him through his success, applause filled the room. Crystal glasses clinked. The smirk widened. That was the moment. A discreet signal to the event coordinator cued the presentation that was supposed to display quarterly growth charts. Instead, the screen illuminated bank records, property transfers, and the LLC registration details, all sourced from public filings. Gasps cut through the ballroom. The smirk vanished. Questions erupted from board members seated near the front. Investors pulled out phones. The associates slipped toward the exit, heels clicking too fast against marble floors. No shouting was necessary. The evidence spoke clearly. By the time the lights dimmed, reputations were already collapsing. Because pride may build a double life in secret, but justice only needs one perfectly timed spotlight. If tonight's story proved anything, it's this. Betrayal may hide in the shadows, but truth always finds its spotlight. When trust is broken, when pride turns reckless, and when secrets threaten to destroy everything, the strongest move isn't anger, it's strategy. If you love gripping family drama, shocking husband secrets, emotional twists, and revenge served with precision, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story where power shifts, masks fall, and justice arrives right on time. Because around here, every smirk has consequences, and every secret has an ending.